Welcome to Coffee with Democrats, a sensible platform for progressive conversations. Coffee with Democrats is a grassroots movement dedicated to hearing from Democrats, candidates, legislators, and friends from all political backgrounds who want great conversations. Coffee with Democrats is committed to increase Democrat voter registration and Democrat voter turnout by making voting more exciting and meaningful. And now here's your host of Coffee with Democrats, Kevin Dawson.
Hey folks, good morning and welcome to Coffee Break on Coffee with Democrats. We got a special guest with us today, a really good friend of mine, Senator Carri Hicks. We spent such valuable time up at not at the Capitol, but up in Chicago at the convention. It was just so much fun. I mean, it's so good to see you. We haven't talked to each other to kind of, talk about what's been going on and talk about our experiences.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to spend this time with you this morning, just kind of recapping what was an incredible once-in-a-lifetime experience in Chicago, and the momentum I feel like is at our backs.
Sure, yeah. Hey, folks who are listening in, please share this important conversation with all of your friends on social media. Let's get as much exposure here to Senator Hicks as we can. Also, please bear with us. I'm coming to everybody live from the Cleveland County Democrat headquarters. We have been having some major issues. We had to cancel our show day before yesterday because the internet went out. And ever since then, having some lags. So if that happens from time to time in here, please bear with us because we can, but we're dealing with some internet issues, and it's not anybody's fault in particular that we're having to deal with. So please bear with us on that. But hey, we're already getting some thumbs up there, Senator Hicks. Isn't that great? We already have some people that are following and they really like what we're doing. So yes, I'm going to go back and start our conversation in Chicago. We met up there on Sunday. I think you went out to the Navy Pier event that was out there. I got stuck in a protest on a bus for over an hour and a half, so I wasn't there. But go ahead and talk about your experience and how that Sunday kickoff, amazing event, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of the week, and then it just kept getting better.
Yeah, so I actually flew in early on Monday morning. So I wasn't there for the Sunday event, but we hit the ground running. Once I landed in Chicago, I joined everybody for breakfast at the flagship hotel, and we were able to hear from a variety of, nationwide. We had some special guests and special speakers that were really just speaking to the heart of the Harris-Walz campaign. And I mean, once we were able to get through breakfast and I got settled into my hotel room and headed over to the convention center, I was able to join just some really incredible folks who wanted to have deep and meaningful discussions about what they're seeing in their states and basically how we can all, work together to really elevate, what the priorities are in this election cycle in particular.
Our first guest that we had come in was Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland. Wasn't that so? I mean, and for her to come in and just kind of feel like, hey, I'm just one of you guys, and did not have a big, guardrails around her. She was open and inviting, and it was so fun to have her talk to us just for a few minutes about what was, what she could expect, and then it just kept getting better. That first night was the night that we heard from President Biden, who gave just such an emotional. And to me, it was so good, but it was so painful, but it was uplifting and inspiring, and basically a handoff from his campaign to the next.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, throughout his comments, all I could think about was the excitement that it has happened here back home around the ARPA projects that we've been able to successfully start here in Oklahoma, massive investments in infrastructure, the ways in which we are able to work with local communities at the state level in funding some of these massive infrastructure projects that have just gone into deferred maintenance to a point that it's really critical investments that we're making right now. I just think about this being really an historic time in my lifetime, definitely, where we've been able to see such a massive change, not only at the federal level, but definitely in our local communities, and being able to invest back into things like water infrastructure, not something super sexy, but definitely something very meaningful for so many communities across the state. When we think about the historic droughts that we've experienced recently, and wanting to make sure that we're really positioning ourselves as a state for the next generations to be able to continue to thrive in a meaningful way.
And yes, and now that's going to be the legacy of the Biden-Harris presidency. Is involved in some of the so folks, we are having, it's kind of poking in and out every once in a while, but please bear with us. We're going to keep moving on. But it was also a great to be there on Wednesday when Madam Vice President Harris, she did her acceptance speech, and it was so emotional then. But again, it was so exciting. When I go back and I watch that video, I watch when she's making the acceptance speech, and we were so close to the I would say the deck, anyhow, where the podium and everything was at. We were so close and we were so close to all the TV networks. They pivoted, and guess who was front and foremost cheering about what was going on? It was our very own Senator Carri Hicks that was screaming and yelling and raising her hands and cheering. And it makes me feel so good to see you up there as being a representative of Oklahoma. And that is the scene that the nation saw. And that was the representation of Oklahoma. That's how we all feel down here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, truly, I had, my parents, my family, everyone saying, "Oh, we can't wait to see you at the DNC." And I was like, it's going to be a massive event. There are so many, hundreds of thousands of folks are going to be there. There's no way. But you're right. I mean, the location where our Oklahoma delegation was seated, I mean, we had a front row seat. And not only that, I mean, the walls were where the cameras were located. So it's not even like we had any understanding or idea that somehow we were going to be ending up on these national networks, because there weren't any cameras pointed at our faces that we could see during the night's events. And so, I mean, it really was raw. It was an emotional response, and just feeling the momentum of hearing a campaign that really is getting to the heart of the challenges that folks are facing. I mean, this campaign is all about us. It's all about all of us.
Yes.
And so being there and sharing that collective experience, I mean, what you saw streaming across, live national television was truly an authentic response, and the emotional weight, I feel like, of hope, and feeling like we're finally hearing from a candidate who gets it, who is similar in circumstances, was raised in a very middle class environment and is now a candidate for the United States president. I mean, it's just, it just speaks to the heart of the American dream. And so I think it was overwhelming. And that's what you saw as a response, is just excitement and joy.
Yeah. And we've got a Midwesterner, Nebraska. What a impact that he had for us as well. But I'm gonna pivot just a little bit because we got to talk a little bit about Oklahoma. You've got some really, really strong candidates running here in Oklahoma for Senate, and I feel so good about where we stand as Democrats in the state of Oklahoma. So I'm going to let you talk about what you for.
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in. You're cutting out a little bit, and I'm sure I'm doing the same, but I'm just gonna jump in. What's really, really exciting was obviously, to see it at the national stage is one thing, but to come home and be reminded of just the strong work that's being done here on the ground, I think it just echoes that same sentiment of hope and having candidates in their communities who really reflect the priorities of the district, who have a heart for service and are truly running to be public servants and not politicians. I think, we have a slate of candidates in this election cycle who are problem solvers, who have experienced those challenges firsthand and truly are coming equipped and ready to put together pragmatic solutions to the challenges that all Oklahomans are facing. It's not a self-serving personal agenda, but truly reflective of the communities in which they're running. And so I'm excited. We only have one incumbent up for re-election in the Senate this election cycle. And so when we're looking across kind of the variety of open seats and other things that have happened with redistricting, it really is hopeful that we have strong candidates in the right places at the right time, and the momentum from the top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket, I feel like is it's just compounding. It's infectious joy. It's exciting.
Yes, exactly right. And I always talk about. I'm coming to this. I do this show on this podcast every day, Monday through Friday. And I try to do it from the Cleveland County Democratic headquarters. And the excitement here has just been so amazing. I don't know whether I said it earlier, but we've sold over 3,000 Harris Walls signs in Cleveland County, and they've gone beyond Cleveland County. People come down here from Oklahoma City. People come up from Purcell and from other counties to get signs here at the Cleveland County headquarters. Every day when I walk in, the store doesn't open up or the front office doesn't open up until 10 o'clock. I usually get here between 8:30 and 9, and there's people following me in the door. That's how excited they are. They're getting up early. They want to be the first ones to get in. They want to see what our merchandise is. Not just, we've got shirts, we've got caps, we've got mugs, we've got bumper stickers. People are buying everything because just what you said, there's just the joy and the excitement of hope that we have to and that's so fun. And we've got I'm going to pivot back to the Senate candidates right here in the state of Oklahoma, people like yourself who are just outstanding servant leaders who are just doing everything they can to help bring on just this neutral, just give us some more hope. People like yourself do that on a daily basis. And we just, and that's what we're trying to reelect and elect is people just like yourself who are just saying, we're tired of the supermajority that don't care about constituents.
Yeah. Well, and I'll even just say, yesterday I had a pretty interesting email in my official Senate communications. Senator Julia Curt and I hosted an interim study a couple weeks ago. I guess it was last week on poverty and really, what are some pragmatic steps that we can take at the state level to decrease the amount of poverty, eradicate poverty would be my personal goal, making sure that folks' needs are met. And what does that look like? What is the proper level of, quote unquote, government intervention in helping folks get back on their feet? And so I had this beautiful email from an individual out of Ponca City who had read the press release and responded in kind to both myself and Senator Curt and just saying, I really appreciate what you all are trying to what you're endeavoring to accomplish by bringing this conversation forward. She divulge that, at one point in her life, she, fell on some hard times, was a single mother of 4, and, relied on public services, SNAP, WIC, other things like that in order to really get her back on her feet. And now, she's thriving in the community of Ponca City and is just really wanting to be able to share her personal story about how programs that exist, that should be, temporary and really are for the majority of folks who find themselves in a set of circumstances that's beyond their control. What are the safety nets, and how can we make sure that folks, see that as a way that is positive and beneficial to getting back to work and getting back to participating in the economy so that their kids have the best opportunities available to them.
Right. Yes. And it's so heartfelt too, whenever people, share their emotions and their experiences, because not every life out here is perfect and wonderful. And, the backgrounds and the environments that they grow up in, not everybody's environment is just, that 1950s or 60s
Right.
Brady Bunch type environment. People have hardships that they grow up in and they have to overcome. And we see a lot of people overcoming in Oklahoma. And that's such a wonderful feeling too. And with your experience and with your ability and being at the center to reach out and offer help to those people through the legislation and trying to influence people who straps and I know we're dealing with some internet issues here,
That's okay.
but hopefully we're going to keep this moving
Well,
along.
and I think it presses in on some, maybe some long held cultural beliefs on, bootstraps. So we hear that kind of, narrative a lot, honestly, from the other side of the political aisle. And, I think we have to be honest about the fact that, we're not just dealing with bootstraps, we're dealing with the fact that there are no straps left. And so really what,
Yes.
what can we do as a state to be honest about where we are with the most vulnerable folks in our communities who really want, they want to be participating in our economy. They want to be making sure that their kids have the best opportunities. And so it's not about, folks sitting on the sidelines or, just relying on the government to solve all their problems. They're really looking for, temporary help, temporary assistance so that they can live their best lives and really, create an opportunity for, that's generational change that disrupts that cycle of poverty and helps them overcome the traumas that they're dealing with. And unfortunately, we've not done a great job of that historically. And so I really think there's a lot of areas of opportunity that we could continue to do better. And when you know better, you should do better. And we definitely have the data, we have the evidence, and we know what works, we know what's not working. These arduous application processes that make things incredibly cumbersome and difficult for folks to navigate. We should be streamlining that so that folks have exactly what they need at the time that they need it so that they don't fall into that crisis hole that they just can't get out of.
Have you on coffee break with technical issues that we've run into. But again, thank you for coming on and sharing with us a little bit about, what it's like being in Oklahoma and being someone who is a Democrat supporting those efforts. And I want to just tell you, from the people out here, we thank you for what you're doing, and we support everything that you're doing. You are the servant leader example that everybody should aspire to be. And thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really heartwarming because it can get easy to feel like we're just not making enough progress on a daily basis. But it's conversations like this. It's conversations. I was at the local craft store this morning and I ran into a constituent. We were having some good conversations about things that are happening in the community. And everybody wants to talk about Ryan Walters. Obviously, as a former public educator, it's definitely something that folks feel very comfortable comfortable reaching out to discuss with me in particular. And I appreciate that. I welcome that feedback. I welcome that dialogue. I'll say that my inbox is flooded on a daily basis with folks from all backgrounds, not just Democrats, who are fed up with the partisan rhetoric and the damaging words that are coming out of our state superintendent on a daily basis. And so I think that's a uniting factor that, I would say every parent wants a great educational opportunity for their child. And so we really need someone, at the top that understands that and is putting kids first and kids' needs first, and creating an environment where teachers feel supported. And unfortunately, what we're seeing right now is that uniting factor is kind of an antithesis of what we're currently seeing from that leadership in that office. And so I would hope that, again, we can find some common ground around those conversations and really start to hold folks at the top accountable, because that's definitely, I feel like, probably one of the top campaigning issues going into this election cycle, which is just a short week away. You think about, a lot of folks are going to be casting their ballots with that at the forefront of their mind.
Right. Well, again, thank you for joining us on Coffee with Democrats and on Coffee Break. And I appreciate you so much. And we'll try to have another conversation like this after the election, maybe when you guys have your break during your next session.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. And until the next time, everybody, please be safe.